Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts, Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Rayburn, what's going on in your world?
Well, as you can see, I've lost maybe about 20 pounds, considering that I chopped all my hair off, about 12 inches, in fact.
20 pounds in your hair?
Yeah, 20. Have you seen how thick this hair is? I'm telling you this because knowing you wouldn't even notice. Not a whole lot other than that, but I could not be more pleased.
I notice weight loss in people. I notice haircuts, too. I don't tend to say anything. It strikes me as...
Because you don't want to be wrong?
Well, I don't. I think people would like to hear that sort of thing, but it also just makes me feel like someone's going to think, why are you
looking at me that way?
Noticing my body, you know? And well, it's weird.
You would not get that reaction from me, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. Anyway, what's going on with you, Shane?
Well, I should be relaunching the Banter Bar show on YouTube right around the time this comes out. There will now be a revolving cast of characters hosting with me, and I hope everyone tunes in because keeping the Banter Bar's flame alive has been rather difficult.
All right, well, I can't wait, and I can't wait to see who you have on.
Yeah.
More on that later.
It's going to be fun.
I'm sure it is. You ready to roll this intro?
Yeah. So I have to say, I like your list pick this week.
More melancholy?
Yeah.
Right up Shane's alley?
I think I treated this one a little different. Anyway, what was your list?
Top 10 breakup songs.
Why don't you go ahead and start us out?
All right. First on my list is I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James. While Beyonce does a damn good job at covering this in, I believe it's called Empire Records. No, not Empire Records. Cadillac Records. Empire Records is that Liv Tyler
movie.
Yeah, movie. Cadillac Records is another movie where she plays Etta James. She does a hell of a cover of this song, but we're not talking about Beyonce. You can't beat Etta's emotion at the thought of seeing her man with someone else throughout this song. So tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. Classic Motown sound.
My first pick was I Wish You'd Stay by Brad Paisley. My list isn't going to be what I'd guess you'd get from a lot of people. Never been one to share any of those I hope my exes die memes, stuff like that. Relationships are rarely easy, and I don't think ill of anyone who's tried loving me. That out of the way, I danced to this song with my first real love shortly before the beginning of the end. She'd been hiding our relationship from her parents and was at my house the night her mom found out about us. An otherwise wonderful evening was ruined, and I went from feeling happy about the memory of that dance to thinking of it as a lyrical precursor for all the bad to come.
I have a million questions, but for the sake of time, I'm going to maybe ask you not here, but yeah, I'm intrigued by that story. Next on my list is, Shane, you'll appreciate this, Whiskey and You by Chris Stapleton. More Chris Stapleton, everyone. While I never have experienced real soul-crushing heartbreak, Stapleton's reaction is probably the numbing route that I would most likely take.
I was confused when you first said it, because for some reason when you said the name of the song, I was thinking it was a Morgan Wallen song, and then I realized I was thinking Me on Whiskey.
You should know better. It's
a lot of whiskey songs.
Yeah, a lot of whiskey songs.
Next up for me is Whatever She Wants by Jars of Clay. My second big breakup happened like 5 times over. I think we both wanted to make it work, but it felt like my first love was brought into the relationship constantly. Initially it was her doing, but I eventually got tired of being accused of doing or even just thinking things about my ex, and that opened the floodgates to a lot of drama. I picked this song because my second love used to rub the track in my face a bunch. In the end, that's what sticks with me, that our break was never clean. It was never just about us. It was always muddied by something to do with my first love. And I've never gotten back together with my first love, so I tend to think of all that drama as completely pointless.
Yeah. Not to turn this into something about me, but did you know that I am the other woman and have been the other woman for 15 years?
He lives with you. So.
He does, but he never broke up with his ex. They never broke up. He changed schools.
So.
And the relationship did not follow. I guess he didn't ghost her. He's never been one to like call a girl on the phone or go out on a date or anything. I was his first of all of that.
You seem rather accepting of this circumstance too. Like, I'm the other woman.
come to accept it, but he told me, he was like, yeah, I never broke up with my ex. I'm like, so I've been the other woman this entire time? Sorry, Alex. I mean, I know you're happy.
I was talking to a teenager earlier this week because I had to go see my Aunt Jennifer's kids while they were in town. I didn't have to, but I went over
town?
there. Yeah. Anyway, I was talking with one of the teens on that side of the family who had just broken up with his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling stories about how she was one of those, like, if you're going to be with me, you need to delete every girl out of your phone. I don't ever want to see you talking to any girls. If there's any odd, that sort of thing.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, you dodged a bullet, my friend. Congratulations.
Definitely. What is the deal with possessive relationships and jealousy? Because if Blue's going to cheat on me, I'm going to be taken for a fool because I'm not looking for it. I'm not, like, there has to be a certain amount of trust.
Some people, I think, grow out of it. These are teenagers.
Yeah, they're children.
But a lot of that comes from certain kinds of people are attractive enough to just get away with it for a long time. And we're fed this keep moving on to the next person until you find what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Never, maybe part of the problem is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next on my list is The Night We Met by Lord Huron. Is there any place that this song isn't perfect, considering that I've put it on about 3 of my playlists now? The desperation of wanting to go back to the simpler times of a relationship is very real, especially with this one.
The duplication bugs me on my own list. I have yet to duplicate a song on any song list we've done.
Well,
that is a good song.
It is
to
a good
use
song.
Again and again, though. I would agree.
I mean, I've used it for a multitude of things, like songs to have sex to. But again, it all ties. That song is so emotional.
Yeah.
When it comes to a relationship, it can be fitting in a lot of different places.
Yeah. You could be at a high point or at a low point, and it's going to make sense emotionally. Something about it is multifaceted.
Yeah.
Amy by Damian Rice. I was introduced to this song by an ex of the same name. I remember hearing it and knowing it would always make me think of her. Spent a lot of nights performing this one at get-togethers after our split, along with other songs that still bring her to mind. I know I joke about being a hoe in those days, but mostly I just missed Amy and felt compelled to go with the flow. Something about that woman just felt like home to me, but sometimes in life you've got no choice but to find a new home.
At the Nightlight Lodge.
Yeah.
Still have not named my house, by the way.
Well, that's a damn shame.
I've been working on it. I literally was having a conversation with Blue and I was like, if we had to name our houses like those cabins in Oklahoma, what would you think? And he looked at me with the stupidest look. He's like, shit, I don't know. I was like, okay, I'll work on that. You've been a lot of help.
You've been spending too much time with your cousin, haven't you?
That's he was like, maybe we might want to tone down how much you see Shane. Next on my list is Breathe Me by Sia. While I have never had the soul-crushing heartbreak that a lot of relationships come with, I have had hardships of my own when it comes to my own relationship. And this is some depression, drunken bath music. Don't act like you haven't been there. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I haven't. I think maybe
it's time.
This particular activity, I like baths, by the way.
I do too.
But I think this drunken bathtub sad music thing is relegated to
the female gender.
Maybe just not me.
Okay. You know the we've talked about this, the Britney Spears music Every Time?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
Well, as I was saying what I was saying, I realized I told a story about being drunk in a bathtub or getting drunk in a bathtub, and I don't know. Wasn't crying and listening to sad music or anything.
You were just drunk in a bathtub.
Chilling.
All right. Just chilling in a bathtub drinking. Okay.
You live in a trailer. That's your hot tub. You got no choice. The Heart of the Matter by Don Henley. Sometimes the length of a relationship doesn't speak to how much we value its having existed. Was once with someone for less time than most grade school relationships last, but she meant a lot to me, and it hurt a great deal when things did end. We were a lot alike. We both jump into things head first and with great intentions, but at least in those days, I'm not sure either of us were ready to be completely honest about our natures. Still pretty sure we could have made it work too with a few more years under our belts, but hindsight's 20/20 and all that jazz. I didn't realize until later in life that those hurts would continue with this one as I watched her settle down and start having kids. But I've always maintained that you can't claim to love someone if you can't manage being happy for them. And this song helped me get to that point.
You're a bigger person than me. I don't know. We were, Blue and I were talking about how would we act if we weren't together? And I mean, I would be happy for him. I would like support him from afar. But I just don't know how you can love someone that much and just still be in their circle. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I'm strong enough to do that.
It makes a lot of sense for some people to completely, disassociate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm constantly going to be reminded of every little thing of him because I've shared so much memories with him. So maybe I'll get to that point. I'm not there yet. So it's a good thing we're not breaking up.
Yeah, you're imagining the grieving process. You're not imagining or thinking of what happens once you start to get a little beyond the grieving process when you meet someone who, begins fulfilling those roles that you were used to having fulfilled by that person.
Yeah.
The world is a big sea full of fish.
Next on my list is I'm Going Down by Rose Royce. A lot like Etta James, Rose Royce lets us know what it feels like to have your whole life uprooted by one person. Tying that on to what we just talked about. Life after that person looks very different, but it's still can be quality life.
I did check that out, by the way. Great song.
Thank you.
So all I knew was it Mary J. Blige?
Yeah, she did and she did a really good job.
Yeah, they sound similar. Which why try to replace the original?
I don't
know.
know.
It did make the song quite a bit more popular for a new generation. So that's good.
Most people didn't grow up with their mom constantly watching Car Wash like I did.
Have You Seen Her by the Shy Lights? Heard this one after a major breakup while I was sitting alone at a Sonic waiting for my food to be delivered. It hit me so hard that I wound up leaving before getting my order because I didn't want anyone seeing me in that state. Unsurprisingly, this is what started my near obsession with the Shy Lights. Some would call it a full-blown obsession, but whatever. Tomato.
You make memes about it, so.
Also, yes, I still feel like an asshole for straight up leaving a place after having placed a food order.
That's your biggest regret out of this whole breakup. I left a Sonic without actually getting my order.
Well, once you're far enough away from the situation, that's what sticks. Like someone made the food, they probably went to walk it out and they're like, oh, this motherfucker ain't even here.
And then they had to hear, have you seen her by the Shy Lights being played?
At least I didn't order like something strange, one of the rare menu items. It was just like a burger and tots, I think is what it was. Anyway, let's do what we're here to do this week.
Let's talk about some more music.
First up would be
Miss Diana Ross.
Yeah.
Former frontwoman of The Supremes.
This is correct. Why don't you go ahead and lead?
All right. First album that we covered by Diana Ross was Diana Ross from 1970. This was my middle album.
Top.
I gave it 2 5s out of 11 tracks.
9.
My top track was You're All I Need to Get By.
Agreed.
And my bottom track was Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Keep an eye.
Ain't No Mountain High Enough, I found out, was a big deal. Like, it was very popular. But when you compare it to the other version, the more popular version, it just doesn't hit for me.
Does for me.
I'm sure it does. 9 5s.
I fucking love it.
What I want to say about this album is this is definite 60s and 70s vocal stylings. Very similar to the Supreme sounds, but highlighting Diana's individuality. Soft vocals that I would compare to Karen Carpenter in a lot of ways. And can be very sensual at times.
70s easy listening meets Motown era magic. Ross has a tender but powerful style that any Sade fan will immediately adore, though Ross's register is quite a bit higher. Ashford and Simpson poured their hearts into the writing of these songs, and Ross is the ideal vocal vessel. Shy Light's flair, mixed with the most recognizable voice of the Supremes, exquisite in spite of some mild hooks. This was a really great album.
Next album that we covered was Baby It's Me from 1977. This was my top album.
Middle.
I gave it 2 5s out of 10 tracks.
5.
My top track is Baby It's Me.
Come From the Rain.
And my bottom track was Your Love Is So Good For Me.
Confide in Me.
I found my bottom track cheesy.
And I started out hating your top track.
Okay. Well, we've established I don't listen to them more than once. Maybe I should.
Well, and I do. And this album, before we talk about the specifics, in the end, it left me feeling like Kaleo's AB album. I didn't really know how to feel about it. Okay. This one, I felt like the 5s were getting weaker for me.
The more you listen to them?
Yeah, while the 4s were getting stronger.
Okay.
Really, really mixed emotions. I still don't know that I know how to feel about the album on the whole.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing it was your middle pick. This was funkier, a lot more added horns, which I can definitely appreciate. Sparkly disco vibes, but also adds a lounge singer approach.
This isn't anything close to a bad album. It's just not my style most of the time. That mid-70s funk pop sound can be like nails on a chalkboard in my opinion. Saving grace here is Diana's voice and the strong bass lines. It's also more upbeat overall than the last disc we covered, but will I keep coming back to this album? No.
Next album that we covered was Diana from 1980. This was my bottom album.
Agreed.
Which is funny because this was very popular.
Yes.
This is probably one of her more well-known albums. I gave it 1.5 out of 8 tracks.
I gave it 2.
Okay. My top track was I'm Coming Out.
It was my other 5, and I initially had it written down, but my top track, subsequent listens, what I kept coming back to, Mild Piano.
Okay. Why?
The fucking bass is so good in that song.
All right. What, do you know where that fell in the track listing?
It was track 6, I believe.
Okay. I gave it a 3. I gave the first track on the album a 4, so but there was just something missing. Obviously, it didn't warrant a 5 for me.
Yeah.
My bottom track was Have Fun Again.
Friend to Friend.
Okay. I'm trying to remember if she did. There was one song that she did on one of the albums that we covered, and she redid it on this album. I can't remember if that was Have Fun Again. I don't know.
I think you're thinking of Tina Turner.
I think you might be right. Anyway, what I want to say about this album is I would have liked more dance mixes and less toned down tracks. Trying too hard to crank out the tracks, and it seems disgenuine.
Hard to disagree.
Yeah.
This felt a lot like a disco album, only it's done by a voice that presents every bit as angelic as Karen Carpenter.
Ah, there it is.
It's a strange comparison, but it's definitely there. Has a super infectious bass lines in spots. Not sure if the vocal comment is a pro or con, but I do know that repetition and some flat choruses work against my loving this rather short spin. Also hate having to admit that I don't like the song Upside Down as much as I thought, which was the first track.
Yep.
You think of it as being amazing.
Yeah.
And you go to listen to it, and it's a pretty uneven experience that I can't fully recommend.
Okay. Some other things that I want to say about Miss Diana Ross is if you like Miss Diana, Lady Diana, you can find her in The Wiz with Michael Jackson. The majority of people know what The Wiz is. It's an African-American take on the classic Wizard of Oz, and is pretty decent. You can also find her in Lady Sings the Blues. She plays Billie Holiday. So interesting that she's portraying another very famous singer. Similar sounding artists for me include Rose Royce, Karen Carpenter, like I stated earlier, Gladys Knight, Donna Summer, and even Earth, Wind & Fire at times. When I listen to Diana Ross and how she makes me feel, it makes me feel like I'm brave enough to ride a horse topless through a disco lounge.
Okay. There's your social media post right there, Rayburn.
What did Rayburn say she was going to do this week? Oh, right. Find out.
There's your visual.
I don't want to touch too much on the fact that, this is not about the Supremes. This is about Diana Ross. But without the Supremes, Diana would not have been skyrocketed to stardom. Original projects include the Pre-Mets before the Supremes. She inspired the musical Dreamgirls. So if you are a fan of Dreamgirls, the inspiration comes directly from Diana Ross and her time with the Supremes. Her husband died after falling off a mountain in 2004.
Apparently, there is a mountain that's high enough.
There is a mountain high enough.
That's really fucked up.
I know, but Shane, I read it and I was like, oh. And yeah. I'm so glad you finished the joke. We are connected. We are connected. She currently lives in an apartment building with other celebrities. It's an apartment complex that a bunch of other celebrities like Glenn Close and Jerry Seinfeld live in. I found that strange and interesting. And she was originally going to play Whitney Houston's part in The Bodyguard.
I just keep thinking that karaoke at that place must be the bomb.
Yeah, probably.
Well, Seinfeld to get up there, I don't know. Maybe he's got a voice. Who knows?
What's the deal with the airplane?
Right. He doesn't even sing.
He just goes and does like a 15-minute stand-up set.
So I talked about bass, but I wanted to mention that the guitar here was also pretty consistently stellar. Me talking about strong bass lines, I think some people would get confused. They start an album and it's like, wait, this is guitar. This isn't bass. I understand that it's guitar and not bass.
Yeah.
I'm saying in parts of the album, the bass is going to kick you in the face, and it's fantastic. The music makes me feel like I'm wearing silk. That can be a really good feeling. That can also be a not so great feeling if you are, say, overly warm.
I love that your comparison to what it makes you feel like. It makes you feel clothed, and it makes me feel spread open for the world to see.
Please don't look me in the eyes when you say spread open.
Spread open, Shane.
Kind of already said this. Upside Down is a primary example of how much powerful hooks matter to my taste, because that song has a phenomenal instrumental backing. It is so good, which Earth, Wind, and Fire, I completely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But the chorus for that song dulls me from a 5 to a 4. It starts out in the very beginning. The way that it sounds right there, that's how every chorus should sound.
Yeah.
You have to wait till the song's almost over until you hear that again.
That was the one on the last album that I said could not warrant a 5 from me, because there's just something.
To clarify what I meant by Motown era magic, it's a classic R&B foundation with romantic big band instruments sprinkled in. There's much more going on with Diana Ross music than a nice voice. Her backing musicians, songwriters, and producers all shine in a big way for the most part. I really enjoyed this listen, even though I didn't give a whole lot of 5s.
Yeah, no, she wasn't a bad listen.
And again, I think Rayburn and I may disagree here, but that first album, the self-titled from 1970, was really, really good. If you like Motown classic R&B sound, definitely go listen to that album.
I didn't think it was bad. I just think that it didn't highlight enough of her individuality. Like, she was coming straight off the Supremes. This is her first album coming straight off the Supremes. And it just sounded too much like her Supreme contributions, because at the very end of her being with the Supremes, you know, they started as a group. It was a Justin in sync situation.
Yeah.
Like, they really made her stand out at the end, and it still just seemed like a continuation of that. I liked the album. Obviously, it wasn't my bottom, but I just think that they could have done so much more with her debut.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just related to, on the other albums, you're getting lots of different songwriters. She's taking stylistic risks as well, whereas on that first album, it was very controlled, and almost I think all but one song was written by Ashford and Simpson, and you could tell like they were going to let her do her thing vocally, and it does have a very Supremes vibe to it. Yeah. But I love the Supremes. So
yeah, I was going to say, if you're a big fan of the Supremes, the first album will definitely be to your liking. But for me, the second album, it seemed like she experimented a little bit more with her individuality and her own sound, and was kind of developing that. Mm-hmm. And then the third album, I didn't hate it, but I just don't even want to talk about it. I feel like she's like, I'm fucking Diana Ross. I can shit golden bricks and make you eat them, bitch. So
on that note, Miss Ross, really, thank you for the listen. Let's take a break. Song recommendation?
I actually have a lot of complaining to do. I just thought that this was a good opportunity.
Was that an answer to my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a song recommendation, but I'm going to complain about it.
All right.
My song recommendation is I've Never Felt So Alone by Labyrinth. This was a snippet taken from the show Euphoria, but there is not a whole track out there. And I want a whole track to be done. I don't care who does it. I just want more of it. So, yeah, I'm going to complain a little bit. This snippet is a Hypnotic Fever Dream by Labyrinth, who I've never heard from before. Completely new. Although I did find out he has a lot of different tracks that are really good quality, but this one is definitely a standout. And again, it's not even a full track. So I would just like more of it, Labyrinth, if you're listening, please.
I want to say my introduction to that artist was a song called Beneath You're Beautiful.
So you have heard of this artist?
Yeah. I know Labyrinth.
Okay. New to me.
I know you think of me as this old man who doesn't know shit.
No, I do not think of you like that. I just am surprised because I thought he was a newer artist. And when the fuck do you have time to look into new artists, Shane?
You would be surprised.
I know I would be surprised. I might be a little concerned too.
I do love music.
I know you do.
Toby was not incorrect in pointing out the fact that we listen to some music.
We do. We do.
My song recommendation is called Dizzy. The group is Tabitha's Secret. You want the version found on the self-titled album. This is a criminally overlooked side project from Matchbox 20's Rob Thomas. I went with this song because it's the one I turn to most often.
All right. I have no idea. I know Matchbox 20. I know Rob Thomas, but never heard that one.
I'm learning you.
You learning me.
Learning you, youngin'.
More complaining from me. Another recommendation I have is a show called Jupiter's Legacy. It's a Netflix show. This is Shane, another gritty superhero show.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
But unfortunately, it only granted us one season.
Oh, no.
And it left on a cliffhanger, so I'm a little bit fucking pissed about it. This show's producer was the famous actor Josh Duhamel, who also stars in it. I thought it was decent enough to get a second season, and I wanted more. By the end of it, I was super into it. And yeah, life continues to disappoint.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. I mean, if they haven't brought back Firefly, I've just lost all hope.
Well, they did Firefly some serious justice.
With the Serenity movie, I know you're looking at it. It's literally over your shoulder. They did, but I wanted more.
That makes sense.
So
sometimes it's nice to just appreciate what you have, you know?
Don't be afraid to ask the world for more, Shane.
I'm just saying sometimes you get too much of a good thing. I tend to be just more appreciative that I had something, you know?
Apparently not.
I need more.
I need more.
The world should have more superhero stuff for me to watch.
Maybe that's my youth entitlement, right?
Maybe.
I'm not entitled.
I think all humans are entitled.
I'm not overly entitled.
I think this
Just
whole
say that.
Entitled argument is a bunch of ridiculousness from people who are pissed off that kids now live in a world that the rest of us grew into.
Yeah.
You just wake up and you can listen to anything you want.
I had to fight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to save for 3 weeks to buy this shitty album that was shit. It had one good song, but I'm going to tell you it's the greatest album I ever heard.
Because it takes me back to a place in my childhood.
Yes. Anyway.
That's enough bitching for me. Shane, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to plug the music feature on Facebook. If you didn't know, and I think most people don't, you can pin a song to your profile now. It's no return to MySpace days, but it definitely helps me hate that platform just a little bit less.
What? I didn't know that. Miss Marketing over here didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That was my favorite feature of the MySpace days. The fact that you could create a custom playlist to shuffle on your profile when people visited it. Oh, I'm so excited. You will never know the struggle. Unless you're really into music, you will never know the struggle of just picking one song to go on your profile.
I'm glad that I could make you just a little happier today. Yeah. Let's move on to the next half of our show. Are you just ready to go?
What?
Then I'm shuffling papers. You're not moving. That's out of the ordinary.
I had it. I was doing it at the end of Diana Ross. So I'm a ninja.
I see.
Yo. Anyway.
All right, Kimosabi.
Okay.
Drive the train.
I'll drive the train. Chugga chugga choo choo. Because Shane loves it when I do that. First album that we covered by Miss Tina Turner is Private Dancer from 1984. This is my top album.
Bottom.
Oh, no. I gave it 3 5s out of 9 tracks.
4.
My top track was Show Me Some Respect.
I Can't Stand the Rain.
Okay. Did you like it because of what Missy did with it earlier?
No.
Or later?
No, and I've heard a few different samples over the course of my life. This one, just to talk about that track right there, I am obsessed with it. The way that I was DeBarge's A Dream.
Okay.
There are a few other tracks that come to mind, like Shaka Khan's Through the Fire. Some songs are just so fucking good, so criminally underrated and not listened to enough that they end up being sampled.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I'm happy that it was sampled. but you cannot top the original. You
Yeah.
just can't. This thing is magic. Go ahead. I'll
No,
shut up.
you're fine. I was actually going to talk about that later. Is there are 3 covers. I say there are 3 either covers or originals that other people have famously covered on this album. My bottom track is I Might Have Been Queen.
Private Dancer.
See, okay, I'm glad that we're talking about it because I'm not a huge fan of that song, but I keep finding myself singing that Private Dancer. I don't know why. I rated it low, though. I don't know why it gets so much hype.
I gave everything 4s beyond the 5s, and I think Private Dancer is just not something I can really relate to.
You never danced for money?
No. I haven't asked anyone to dance for money either. I've appreciated that.
Okay.
But no, I like that the song exists. I like its originality. It's just not 5 material for me.
Okay. Some other covers that were done was she covered Help by the Beatles. It's the last track on the album. Very different take than the Beatles, and Let's Stay Together by Al Green. She also covered that as well. A couple things I want to say about this album.
You might be confused, by the way, not to cut you off too much. What? You said that was the last song on the album. The tracks here are jumbled. What the internet will tell you the original track listing was is not what they are on Spotify.
No.
So I think the original last track was Private Dancer.
Okay. She covered Help by the Beatles.
Yes.
You'll know it. I would say you'll know it when you hear it, but if you know the words, it sounds nothing instrumentally to the original. This is gruff, powerful vocals from Miss Tina Turner, 80s dance and club mixes, and I'm talking early 80s, not later 80s, going into the 90s. This album is songs that either make you want to sweat or be a strong, badass bitch working woman of the 80s, shoulder pads included. The good kind of 80s cheese. And anything from Miss Tina Turner is usually high energy, so you can expect the best. That's not on this album, but we'll get to it.
I'm agreeing with everything you just said, by the way. Lively, danceable, and brimming with passion, Turner's attitude-laden vocals carry this album, but that's not to dismiss the high level of production values. I may not have given a ton of 5s here, but I completely get why many people would. It's a powerhouse spin that always manages to remain both fun and technically impressive. Very memorable.
Next album that we covered was Foreign Affair from 1989. This was my bottom album.
This was my top album.
I knew it. I gave it 2 5s out of 12 tracks.
10.
Okay, all right. My top track, the best, but I do want to give a shout out to my runner-up, Ask Me How I Feel.
And I'm torn between those two, so we agree.
And my bottom track is You Know Who is doing You Know What.
That's a good song. My bottom track was Not Enough Romance.
Okay.
And it's not a bad song either. The 2 songs that did not get 5s from me were both 4s.
I did give 2 2s, but let's not focus on that. This is a more bluesy rock sounding contribution from Tina Turner. Very large sound, as we've come to already expect from her. Choruses could have been a little bit more complex. She repeats a lot, and I don't know if she's the one doing the writing or the writing is being done for her. I would almost guarantee the writing's being done for her. But an epic approach every time. Tina Turner takes a song and just blasts it with everything she's got. A lot of steel guitar and saxophone. At times, it was a little bit Southern inspired.
Funky, soulful, pop rock. Most definitely born of the 80s. It's like if Michael Jackson, Bryan Adams, and Whitney Houston collaborated on a whole album. Throw in that smoky wail you get from Turner's vocals, and we're in masterpiece territory here. Strong hooks, crisp audio. This one blew me away.
Next album that we covered was What's Love Got to Do With It from 1993. This is my middle album.
Agreed. Also another one with jumbled tracks.
Yeah.
So what you see as the original track listing is not what you get on Spotify.
All right. I gave it 3 5s out of 12 tracks.
8.
My top track is I Don't Want to Fight.
Agreed.
And my bottom track is A Fool in Love.
It's going to work out fine.
A still sexy approach with a 90s feel. A little bit goofier of a contribution. 90s synth waves and sound machines are more apparent here. Less guitar, and it just sounded synthetic. Vocals are consistent over time. Literally, we have spanned 1984 to 1993, and her vocals are still just as strong as they were on that first album.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. She don't fuck around.
No. I suspect that this album's messy mix is the result of it being a soundtrack. It suffers from a sagging middle, and there's even a song missing from the Spotify version. So it should have been 13 tracks, but we've only got 12. The aim here seemed to be for an eclectic effort, but the 80s guitar and sterile drums just make certain parts feel odd. The talking and the male vocals are pretty cringe. There's even recycled material here from the other albums we covered. All that being said, the first half of this album is wonderful. It was a really good feeling to discover how much of Tina Turner's music is familiar to me, and this disc just continued that trend. So again, I ain't mad at it.
Yeah. Another thing to consider if you like Miss Tina Turner and you want to see more of her, she was in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and in Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
My God.
Shut up, Shane.
No, both of those things just like painting pictures in my head, and I instantly feel like fat 8-year-old kid all over again, just like, yes.
And if you're a big fan of her story, you'll want to check out What's Love Got to Do with It. My girl Angela Bassett plays her and apparently did a phenomenal job. She has gotten like critical acclaim from portraying Tina Turner. And Lawrence Fishburne played Ike Turner. And if you know anything about Tina and Ike, there's a lot of hitting going on anyway.
Yeah.
Similar sounding artists for me include Prince, Bonnie Tyler, Reba, and Melissa Etheridge.
Powerful, unique voices.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's about right. Some other notes are she originally went by Little Ann. Her birth name was Anna Mae Bullock, so that's why she went by Little Ann. She sold over 100 million records, and she was 17 when she took the mic from Ike Turner and started singing and became a legend. That might have been why he was so bitter towards her. She outshined him in every way.
Probably.
She is often referred to as the queen of rock and roll.
Certain men's egos just can't handle that powerful woman.
I know.
I think it's sexy as hell.
Well, it's a good thing that they were married in 64 and divorced in 76, so bitch got her own.
I'd recommend this music to 80s music fans. Take your game up a notch. If you don't know much Tina Turner, this is really going to appeal to your 80s sensibilities. The music makes me feel like I'm performing in a talent show, or at least watching the best act in a talent show. It's a good sensation, that is to say. This artist doesn't get everything right, and I'm not crazy about some of her covers, but there's something timeless about the landings which she sticks. I don't just think my friend Kelly is right to feel the way she does about Tina Turner. I'd put her right up there alongside the likes of Prince and Stevie Nicks. An unexpected joy. That's exactly what this artist was for me.
I will not even breathe a breath of disagreements. So let's just leave it at that. Who won for you this week?
Tina.
Like I'm not trying to. Diana Ross is amazing.
Yeah, one of my favorite voices, by the way. Yeah. Diana Ross.
I am not going to take anything away from Diana Ross, but Tina just she seems like the type of woman that sees what she wants, and she is unapologetically goes after it.
What's this got to do with the music?
I don't know what it's got to do with it.
What's love got to do with it, Rayburn?
Anyway, Tina won for me, in case you haven't figured that out.
Yeah, it wasn't too far off, but it was definitely Tina who took the win.
Mm-hmm.
She had better stats in all categories.
Yeah.
She did, I think, have more tracks than Diana, so she was at a slight disadvantage.
Yeah.
But even if she had the advantage, I don't think she would have won over Tina Turner.
All right.
Could have just been the albums. I don't know.
It could have been because I was in charge of picking both of these artists' albums. But my process for picking these, not only was it ones that I was the most familiar with, but I even went and checked to see what their most critically acclaimed albums were, just so that they got proper representation here. Now, that's not to say that we covered all that's good of Diana and Tina.
No.
That is not true at all.
I loved both of these listens. I'm not upset with either one. So
good.
We're continuing that trend for the season. It's been pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and move on to the second half of our list.
All right. Sounds good to me. You want to start or you want me to start?
You go ahead.
All right. Next on my top 10 breakup songs is I Can't Be Alone by Paul Cawthon. I recommended this not too long ago, but if you're wanting to be that one person for someone else that unfortunately the feeling is not reciprocated and ultimately being left to fend for yourself alone, this song is definitely for you.
Man, you really like those comedy artists that have
This
good
is
music on the
not,
side,
yeah,
right?
well, I mean, yeah. You don't expect it.
I know.
You don't expect
It's
it.
continually surprising to me because Codes recommends one song and you like went deep dive on this
I
artist,
did,
it
and
seems.
and you know what? That's exactly what more people need to do more of.
I'd agree. That's why the show is here.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of waiting, you know.
How long it would take me?
No, I'm in a holding pattern for myself. Like I'm gonna wait to listen to more Paul until it's that time.
Okay.
Dear Agony by Breaking Benjamin. I had the painful pleasure of falling in love with my best friend while committed to someone else. And assuming you care about the person you're committed to, that's a degree of torment I wouldn't wish on anyone. When said friend went radio silent on me, I spent a lot of time in a state of depression, about as deep as the one I'd known after being dumped by my ex-fiancé on Christmas. This song immediately takes me back to those days and to the realization that this was something which was always going to hurt, that there was nothing I could do about that. But you learn to live with it, and I wouldn't change anything about the way life has turned out now for either of us.
Yeah. Next on my list is Fix You by Coldplay. Even when you've done all you can for a relationship, it still somehow manages not to put the pieces together. And the love you have will never change. But sometimes it's best to let the person go.
Yeah. Usually best.
Yeah, usually.
Last Train by Don Golden. A breakup song of sorts sent to me by someone I love who I've never been in a relationship with. She's always sent me music at random. Sometimes those songs feel like messages. Other times I can tell she just wanted to share something she's found with someone who appreciates her taste in music. Anyway, she sent me this one right around the time she met the person she'd go on to marry. Oddly, this song doesn't make me feel sad though. It just makes me feel happy for her. As for me, I'm happy to be thought of at all.
Yeah, it's nice to be thought of. I'm still waiting on someone to write a song about me. So next, I know. Next on my list is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. In relationships, promises are made, and unfortunately, promises are broken.
Have you seen her, by the way?
Yeah.
She looks every bit of 15 years old.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
The cheerleading outfit doesn't help.
having like a fucking platinum album?
At that young? No.
That's got to fuck you up for life.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, you will struggle to hit those heights for the rest of your life.
I still can't. I found out the other day, and this is unrelated. I found out the other day that Vin Diesel, because we watched the new Fast 9, sorry.
Is that what we're up to now? Fast 9?
We're Fast 9, dude. And that's not counting Hobbs and Shaw, which was a side movie. Anyway. So there's been 10. Anyway. Do you know how old he is?
Vin Diesel?
Yeah. If you had to take a guess.
42.
He's 54. He's the same age as my dad.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
30s and 40s were treating him nicely.
I guess so. I was kind of a dick to my dad because I told him, I was like, do you know Vin Diesel's the same age as you? Yeah, that man doesn't look a day over 45 and then you look like you're 62. He's like, fuck you.
Well, he's normally bald and hairless on his face and stuff
Yes.
too, right? So you can kind of hide that.
Yes. But I was not expecting 54.
I think if I slimmed up some and just shaved it all down,
You look like you're 20.
30 maybe, you know,
Okay.
not what I am.
You're not that much older than 25. I mean, you're 10 years. 11, actually. 11? Yeah, you're 11 years older than that. 36?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure I'm about to be 30, so
I'm leaving it alone.
I'm gonna catch up to you very soon.
Oh god.
Anyway, yeah, Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
Straw Bear by Keaton Henson. It's funny how two people can know aspects of each other better than anyone else on earth, but remain wholly ignorant of other parts of each other. This song entered my life courtesy of such a relationship example. She sent it to me one day telling me how sad she thought the video was, but I remember thinking the lyrics hid her true intentions, and I tend to think my intuition here was correct. She spent a lot of time begging me to never let her stop mattering to me, begging me to not leave her alone, and then she vanished.
Poof, into thin air. Oh.
Next.
Next on my list is Ex-Girlfriend by No Doubt. Sometimes you know a relationship is doomed to fail and can't help to be sad even when it does. This was one of Rayburn's fuck you songs as a preteen.
Kind of always knew, huh?
Yep, kind of always knew.
You love those fuck you songs, by the way. It never escapes me when I'm editing or listening to the show. that anytime there's like a fuck you and something, it's fuck you.
Fuck you. Because, dude, I'm usually... Okay, I was literally just talking to your wife about this. I've been dealing with the dealership for my car. I know what it's like to be in customer service. I know what it feels like to be on the other side. So I'm usually pretty tame. But under the surface, it's a big ol' fuck you about anything. So...
I had a great experience this week. I want to share. Megan's birthday was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And Taylor's old enough now. I wanted to take him to the store to like pick out some stuff for his mom.
Yeah.
So we did. Not gifts or anything. I'd already got that taken care of. But we needed cake. I thought he might like to get her flowers or something, you know. So just stuff that he could put his own little stamp on. Like, I picked this out, Mama.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to Kroger. We get our stuff. We're waiting in line. And it's packed in there, but the only thing they have open are the self-checkout lanes.
Yeah.
And it was after 5 o'clock, just right after 5. So it's a bunch of, you know, people who've been at work all day mostly and just trying to get out of there really quick. And this Karen.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Because there were 2 lines, one going into each side of the self-checkout. But she decided when she saw someone walk forward on the other side that, oh, y'all weren't here. Y'all aren't in the real line. And she started going off on like all these people. And I'm standing there with my kid. And this old dude in front of me just straight up told her, shut the fuck up. And she did.
Oh, well, there you go.
Silver Wings by Thrice. Again, I'm not here to speak ill of people who I continue caring about, but this song definitely brings a certain sort of breakup to mind. You make it a point to pour your heart out to someone when they do you the same favor. This goes on for years. You do everything to keep the peace when things don't work out, but if the person on the other end wants you to be the enemy, because that's what it takes for them to get over shit sometimes, then that's what you're in for. I'm not alone in having been there. I'm just still amazed by the way that flip switched, though.
Speaking of not giving a fuck, my next pick is IDGAF by Dua Lipa. All heartbreak is temporary, I promise. Now it's time to heal.
Scars remain. What I'd Say is my last pick. What I'd Say by Earl Thomas Conley. I wanted to end this with a song that's applicable to every breakup I've discussed today. I still get in the occasional headspace where these breakups continue to eat away at me. And even though I'm not in constant contact with any of my exes, I do worry they could encounter a very different side of me than the one I'm presenting today. Even though I'm striving to be a bigger person, we're still talking about situations where 2 people have hurt each other. And sometimes the worst of what I felt then continues getting the best of me now. It's probably got something to do with not wanting people to take for granted that you'll always forgive and forget. Or maybe it's just wanting people to understand that things aren't magically okay just because time has gone by. Either way, the wake of a breakup is way more complex than we give it credit for, but I think it all speaks to still caring about the person on the other end, even if all you offer them is anger. It's only when someone's honestly indifferent that you'll know you no longer mean anything to them. And that's just never been me. So roll the dice, I guess.
I guess so. You Karen motherfucker. Caring, not Karen.
Karen motherfucker.
Karen motherfucker.
All right, let's get our draw out of the way.
All right, let's draw for next week.
And I'm going to do it since I'm over here with it, and I don't want to bump mics and shit. So.
I'm beginning to think he doesn't trust me, which is fine.
I trust you. Let your guest draw. Come on. That's trust, right?
I mean, I guess so.
I'm just going to leave you waiting here.
Thank you.
Because I think you're going to get a kick out of this.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. We've got REM.
Okay. Yes.
Which was recommended by Lena.
All right. Thank you, Lena.
And the reason I find that funny or think that you're going to get a kick out of it is because this is a group you've mentioned in passing a lot over the years. Like it's a big staple in your life, but I don't think that it really is. I'd be surprised if you knew much REM outside of the radio hits.
I make one comment about Man in the Moon.
No, it's been more than that.
Has it?
You've talked about them as sound comparisons, and there have been things.
Okay.
I've noticed things.
Okay.
So I'm very curious to see this. And then I've got them paired up against Live.
Okay. Live, not off the top of my head. I'm sure I know, but tune in next week.
Yeah, we'll be here next week with
discover more.
REM versus Live.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Kelly for her recommendation of Miss Tina Turner. Yeah, good week. And Shane, why don't you take us out?
That's going to do it for this week. Hit up our playlist to hear all the songs we talk about. Get our full ratings, t-shirts, and bonus episodes at teespring.com/ratedradio. Guide what we listen to by suggesting new artists for our jam jar. You can even send us voice messages on Facebook for a shot at being on the show. Your support really is what makes or breaks us, so thank you for listening and sharing. And until next time, fill your world with music.
And remember, you're simply the best.